Welcome to Africa Market Report on Business Television Africa. My name is Anna Maria Nyame. Starting with Ghana, inflationary pressure acted as bear bait, triggering cautionary plays among investors on the GSE this week. This resulted in a lackluster performance across the broad market. Consequently, the GSE CI dipped 1.6 week on week to 2,337. Activity in 10 equities resulted in a turnover of 3.8 million Ghana cedis, which represented a 43.9 week on week decline. The financial and consumer equities were the most traded, with FML emerging as the week's most traded equity. The market recorded 13 price movements at the end of the period, with 6 gaining and 7 declining. UTB led the gainers with a 9.8% price appreciation, followed by GOIL, HFC, MLC, and FML. SPL, SOG-GH, EBG, SIC, and SCB were the laggards for the week. Ghana's headline CPI rate for March 2014 rose to 14.5% year-on-year compared to the 14.0% year-on-year captured in February. This represented the 7th consecutive rise in the highest recorded since February 2010. The food basket recorded an inflation rate of 8.2% year-on-year, with the non-food basket recording an inflation rate of 19.2% year-on-year. Sharp increase in companies' cost of sales coupled with strong acceleration of PPI inflation indicate a rise in pipeline CPI inflation risk in the rest of 2014. Moving on with Nigeria. The Nigerian Stock Exchange All-Share Index gained 1.1% to close the week at 38,969.3 on the back of gains in Fort Oil, Nestle Nigeria, and Wema Bank. During the week, losses were recorded in Wapik Insurance, Diamond Bank, and Sky Bank. The top traders by value were Guarantee Trust Bank, Zenith Bank, and Nigerian breweries. Trading in these shares accounted for 52.3% of this week's turnover of 23 billion naira. The average weekly value traded in the last 6 months is 20 billion naira, and the Nigerian Stock Exchange is down by 5.7% year to date, and the total market capitalization is currently $77.6 billion. BRVM, the IC Composite declined by 1.5% to close the week at 240.7 on the back of losses in Filtisac CI, CFAO, and SAPH. During the week, gains were recorded in Bank of Africa NG, Nestle CI, and Bank of Africa BF. The top traders by value were shares accounted for 90% of this week's turnover, which is $5.5 million. The average weekly value traded in the last 6 months is USD 5.2 million. The IC Composite is up by 3.8% year to date, and the total market capitalization is currently $11.9 billion. In Kenya, the FTSE NSE 15 index gained 32 points, closing at 176.7. Carbasid, KES, EA Portland Cement, and Longhorn were the biggest gainers. TransCentury, Williamson T, Key S, and Olympia Capital were the top losers. The KES gained 9 points against the US dollar, closing at 86.63 this week. Moving on with Tanzania, the DAR All-Share Index declined 90 points to 1,982.7. CRDB Bank and TWIGA were the only gainers this week, and there were no losers. TBL, CRDB Bank, and Tanzania Cigarettes were the top traded stocks this week. The TZS gained 9 points against the US dollar, closing at 1,633.50. Mauritius. The CEMDEX gained 0.4% to close the week at 2,104. On the back of gains in the hotel and banking sectors. Significant gainers were the New Mauritius Hotel, Lux Island Resorts, and Gamma Civic. To Botswana, the Botswana Stock Exchange DCI gained 0.2% to close the week at 8,995.9 on the back of the gains in Stanchat Botswana, Engine Botswana, and Tenstar. During the week, losses were recorded in Cresta, BIHL Botswana, and FNB Botswana. The top traders by value were Choppies, New African Properties, and Let's Go. Trading in these shares accounted for 88.2% of this week's turnover by $4.1 million US. The average weekly value traded in the last 6 months is recorded as $44.6 million. The SEDCI is down by 0.6% year to date, and the total market capitalization is currently $36.9 billion. Moving on with Zimbabwe, the Stock Exchange Industrial Index declined by 0.9% to close the week at 174.9 on the back of the losses in Lafarge Zimbabwe, Hippo Valley Estate, and OK Zimbabwe. During the week, gains were recorded in Barclays Zimbabwe, First Banking Corp, and in Inscore Africa. The top traders by value were Delta Corp Zimbabwe, Econet Wireless, and Dairy Board. Trading in these accounted for 60.8% of this week's turnover of $5.2 million US. The average weekly value traded in the last 6 months is $7.1 million US, and the ZSE Industrial is down by 13% year to date, whilst the total market share is currently $4.4 billion US. This has been Africa Market Report on Business Television Africa. My name is Anna Maria Nyame. Do enjoy the rest of our programs.